Hello everyone, welcome to TspApp. Today we are going to study class 8 geography, first chapter natural resources and their use. So in this chapter we will study these many topics you can see in the mind map. First we will start with the term natural resource here. Then we will see the different categories of resources. We will see on the basis of use, on the basis of ability to replenish. We will then see the distribution of resources. Then we will see how we can use the resources in a responsible and judicious manner. So in this chapter, let's start with the first topic, that is natural resource. Resources can broadly be classified into three categories. Let me write it here. Resource can be out of three categories. The first category is called the natural resource, as you can see. The second category is called human resource. Human resource means those human beings who are acting for the welfare, who are acting for the welfare of humanity. They are working, they are doing some action, they are doing some job using their skill, they are using technology. Okay, and then we have human made resource. So what is this resource? These are those resources which are created by human being. For example, buildings, roads, railway, all these things are human made resource. So this chapter, the whole chapter is all about natural resource. We will focus just on the natural resource part. Let's start. The first term that is here is nature and natural resource. Nature. Whenever we see the word nature, what does come to our mind? We think of some life forms, some living animals, plants, okay, and we also think of some non-living forms. For example, you can see in the image the mountains, the sky, the clouds, the sun. So in nature, we can say the nature is the totality of life and non-life form. It comprises of both life forms, plants, animals, trees, and non-life forms, those things which are abiotic. Abiotic, biotic resources, so abiotic. And these are present in our environment, which are around us and which are not created by human being. Okay, not being created by human being. Now this is an important term that you can highlight, important part in the whole definition, that nature includes all those things which are not created by human being. Okay, now we have natural resource. Now before telling you about natural resource, we must know what is the meaning of the term resource. What is resource actually? Resource is defined as anything which has something called utility. Utility. What is utility? Utility means having some usage. It must have some inherent worth, any value. We must use that object for some action. So if we are using that object, it becomes a resource. And if we are not using, then it is not a resource. Okay, so what is natural resource? You can easily say that elements of nature, things which are found in nature, that become resource when humans utilize them for sustenance or transform them into products for consumption. So elements of nature which humans are using for some action, then we can call it natural resource. For example, we have a tree, example of a tree. A tree is a resource. We can do multiple tasks with the help of different parts of tree. We can make food from the fruits of tree. We can make furniture from the branches, from the trunk of the tree. So tree is a resource. Next, let's see the next thing, the next slide. The next slide talks about the different criteria for anything to be called a resource. We cannot call anything which is present in the universe a resource unless it adheres to it, unless we have the technology to use that resource, unless we have the money to extract it, and unless our culture allows us to do that thing. Okay, so all these three are the important criteria for calling anything a resource. Criteria for being a resource. So these are the three criteria. First is technological accessibility. Humans must possess technology required to reach and extract the material. Can you all recall that the core of the earth, we have earth, and earth is made up of multiple layers, mantle, starting with crust, mantle and core. The core of the earth is made up of a layer of knife, N-I-F-E, knife. Now what is this knife? This is not the knife that we use for cutting vegetables. This knife is actually short form of nickel and iron. Nickel and iron. Even though we have so much high amount of iron present in the center of the earth, at the core of the earth, can we use that iron? Can we extract that iron? No, we cannot do that because we cannot dig to the center of the earth. Okay, so we must have the technology to extract that metal or material. If we can use that, we have the technology, then only it is a resource. We have another example given here. This example is about petroleum. Petroleum which is found deep under the ocean, the black gold, okay, crude oil. If we cannot extract that thing from deep under the ocean, we cannot call it a resource. Next is economic feasibility. Now what is economic feasibility? Economic feasibility has come from the term economic. We must have the money, okay. We must have the cost we must have the money to extract that thing. Now here is an important mathematics involved. The cost of extraction and processing must not exceed the value of resource itself. What does that mean? Suppose we have the knife, the iron which is present at the core of the earth, and somehow we have got the technology to extract that iron. Now the cost of extraction is around 1 billion. Okay, just for example, 1 billion rupees, $1 billion, whatever. But the actual value that we will get after selling that iron is around 1,000 rupees. Now the cost of extraction is so much and the value is so less. In such a situation, it is not economically feasible to extract that thing. Then we cannot call it a resource. Okay. Now the third category is a cultural acceptability. This is an important factor. Unless our culture accepts something as a resource, we cannot call it a resource, because culture is important, because humans live in a society. Humans are social animals. So extraction must be acceptable within the cultural context of the society. Our society must allow us to do that thing. Now we have example given here. The example of a sacred groove. What is sacred? What is the meaning of sacred? Sacred means pious, something which is important for religion, holy, okay, holy, pavitra, okay, divine, sacred. Now we have a groove which is sacred. Can we cut the trees in that groove for making furnitures? No, because that is a sacred groove. Even though there is some economic value, we have the technology, but our culture will not allow us to cut trees of a sacred groove. In such a situation, we'll not call it a resource. Okay. Next is quite obvious thing that we all have seen or understood, that what are the different examples of resources. So resources comprises of both some obvious things and some less obvious things. Obvious are like air, water, soil, or all these are actually the domains of earth. Okay, so these are resources. And then we also have less obvious resources like coal, petroleum, precious stones, metal ores, timber. What is metal ore? Metal ore is the raw form of metal. For example, bauxite. Bauxite is the metal ore of iron, aluminium. Precious stone like jewelry, used in jewelry, the gems, the diamond pieces, the lapis lazuli. Okay. And timber. What is timber? Timber means wood that we get from cutting the tree. for making furnitures. Okay, next we have the resource utilization and perspective. So we have different resources given here in the example. Resource utilization and perspective has a topic of exploitation. Now the word exploitation is often used in a negative term, a negative context. For example, do you know the word drug? Drugs. Now the word drugs is often used in a negative connotation. It is used as a bad thing. But do you know that drugs, the medicine that we take, is also called drugs as a technical term? So similarly, exploitation is often used in a negative connotation. But when we are using it as a technical term, we refer to these three things by the term extraction. Exploitation, sorry. Exploitation means extraction of material from nature. We are extracting the resources from the environment. So that is extraction. Exploitation. Utilization of those material, whatever we have extracted, we will use it for making some object, making some furniture, making something. And consumption of the resulting products. We will use that product, we will consume that product. So exploitation means these 3 points. It does not mean in a negative connotation in this chapter, in this context. And now we will come to this point that whatever thing that we use in our day-to-day life, let it be natural things or let it be something which is artificially created, for example plastic or anything, artificial fiber, all these things that humans create are actually coming from the nature. Even plastic buttons of clothing have come from the nature. We are using some chemicals, and these chemicals are also extracted from nature. So nature is at the core of all these materials. Now we have completed the first topic of natural resource. We will move on to the categorization of natural resource. First, we will understand the word categorization. Why is categorization important? Categorization. So this is categorization of natural resources. Categorization. What is the purpose of categorization? You can see in the image we have categorized the different types, the different resources collected from the nature. Now what is the purpose, the main objective of categorizing anything? Not just in geography, not just in this chapter. The purpose of categorization is mainly for efficient communication. We can talk to someone else about whatever object we are talking about. We can easily communicate about something when we have categorized. For example, if I'm talking about a boy called Rohan, I can say that Rohan from class 8, class 8A, class 8B section. In that way, it has helped me in communicating. Next is for clarity. If we have categorized things become clear for us for studying, for talking with others, for doing some research. So categorization helps in mainly for efficient communication and for making things clear. Okay. Next, we will see the first category of resources on the basis of their use. How is the resource being used by human beings? The first category is those resources which has come directly from the nature, important for our survival, important for our life, for example water. Then another, we have resources which are used for making something like buildings. And then we have another category of resources which we are using as a fuel. So let's see the different categories. The first category is resource which is essential for our life, which is important for our living, for humanity. Now these are air, water, food. These are all the resources which are basic and fundamental to our living. We use it in everyday life. Apart from this, the another category of resource is resource for material. These are those resources that we use for making things, for example, wood, marble, gold. Okay, so these all the elements, the different materials, metals, these are all part of resource for material. And then we have resource for energy. Now this is the third category. These are those resources which are used for generating some kind of energy, let it be electrical energy or any kind of energy. For example, we are using sunlight for generating solar energy, fossil fuels, coal, petroleum, natural gas, sunlight, wind powered energy, and water, hydroelectric energy. So all these are the resources for energy. Now I had missed a small point here. The resources which are essential for life cannot be manufactured by humans. You must highlight this point and remember it. This category of resource that is called the resource essential for life, humans cannot create these resources. We cannot create air, we cannot create water. For creating anything like this, we will require the help of nature. So we are not creating ourselves, we are indirectly taking help from the nature to create these things. So that's why we cannot say that human can manufacture these things. Human cannot create these natural things, the resources which are essential for our life. Let's move on to the next type of classification. Now we saw on the basis of usage how the resource is being used. Now we will see resources on the basis of their ability to replenish. What is this ability to replenish? What is the meaning of replenish? Let's understand the word replenish. Replenish means the ability to restore. Okay, something which can replace itself, regenerate itself. If there is less quantity, it can make itself increase its quantity. So natural resources can broadly be classified in this category as renewable resource and non-renewable resource. Renewable resource, those resources that we represent using green color, and non-renewable resources like these. Let's see the next topic, which is the basic fundamental principles of nature. Nature has its a special ability, special processes which are going on constantly. The first process is of restoration. What is restoration? Restoration is process of returning a system or entity to its original health. Something is damaged and nature will automatically replenish or restore that thing. Now we have example given here. For example, we have cut if there is a cut on our skin, if we get a small scratch or cut on our skin will restore it. So this is an example of restoration. There is also example of recovery of forest. If we cut the forest and we will let the forest to regenerate or regrow, we'll find that the forest has restored on its own self. So nature has this important and one of the basic principles that is called restoration. We saw that in restoration, things are just restoring. We are not creating anything new. When we are creating something more, something new, we will call it regeneration. Let's understand the definition. A process that goes beyond restoration. So it is not just restoration, it is beyond restoration. It is the ability of nature to create new life. Nature is creating new life and establishing necessary conditions for organisms to thrive. So nature is not just restoring, it is creating a whole new ecosystem, new system, new food chain, new food webs. These are examples of regeneration. Let's see some practical applications. So first application is reforestation. What is this? Reforestation means planting native trees. Native trees are those trees that belong to that area. Native trees. Native trees species in areas cleared by human activities. Humans cut the trees for making houses, for mining. Now, if we are planting new trees of the same native trees, same family of trees that are found in that area, we are actually helping in restoring the ecosystem. So this is an example of nature regenerating on itself. Next, ecological impact. Regenerating flora provides essential food and shelter, allowing wildlife such as birds and squirrels to return to the habitat. So as we plant new trees grow, animals will come to make their homes, they will come there and they will start living there. So you can see the squirrel, you can see the different animals that have come here. Okay, so this is how nature is helping in regeneration, not just restoration but also regeneration, going beyond restoration. Now we have the nature cyclic system. I hope you all know the term water cycle. Quite obvious term, water cycle. So nature works in a cycle. The processes of nature are working in a cycle. We have studied this in the form of water cycle. Right now we will see how decomposition cycle works. Now what is decomposition cycle? Decomposition. Suppose we have a tree which has fallen. Within a forest there is a tree which has fallen down. Now what happens after the tree falls down? This tree has become dead now, and the bacteria, virus, fungi, whatever insects are present in the soil, it will start to break the matter and the nutrients will get mixed with the soil. Then whatever the bacteria, viruses, all these things, microorganism will break down, these things will get mixed with the soil, and again the soil will get enriched. Enriched means nutrients will come back. The tree which absorbed the nutrients and grew, once it is dead, all the nutrients will get again mixed with the soil. So this is an example of cycle, and once the nutrients are mixed into the soil, it has enriched the soil. Okay, we have the growth of new plants and trees. So new plants and trees will grow after the enrichment of the soil. This is how nature is working in a cycle. Even in our culture, we pay some gratitude to nature. We offer some kind of offering in form of aragyam. Aragyam. For example, this is a practice in Chhat Puja that we provide arag to the sun. So this is how we are offering, we are showing our gratitude towards our nature. To mark respect and thankfulness, you can highlight the word respect and thankfulness. Next is, we are understanding the first category, the first type, that is renewable resource. Within the term category of resources on the basis of ability to replenish, the first is renewable resource, and then we have non-renewable resource. So what are renewable resources? Those resources which can replenish themselves through natural processes, provided they are managed sustainably. What is the meaning of the term replenish? Replenish: to fill up or to restore supply. Okay, something which is exhausted, something which has got an end, it gets again filled up. So that is example of replenish. Restore, supply, recharge, all these things are the meaning of replenish. The rain helped to replenish the lake, you can see in the example. Now, renewable resources are those resources which are able to replenish themselves through natural processes, provided they are managed sustainably. Now, what is this term sustainably and all these things? For example, let's see the example first. Solar energy. Today was a sunny day. We had a sun, bright sunshine. Again tomorrow we will have sunshine. Again tomorrow we will have sun. So sun, or the energy of sun, is actually renewable. We have abundant sunshine. The sunshine will not end at any time. So that is example of renewable resource. We have water. Water in the river is flowing constantly, and we have seen water cycle in previous classes. So water is never exhausted. It keeps moving in a cycle. Water will keep flowing from the mountains in form of river. In that case, we can say that water is actually Renewable resource, the flowing water, the river is renewable resource. It is able to replenish itself. Then we have example of forest or timber. If we are giving time to forest to regenerate, we have forest, we cut the trees and we give the forest the time to regenerate itself, replenish itself, we'll find the forest is again grown. Now this is how nature is working in a renewable cycle, in a cycle of ability to replenish. Renewable resources are those resources which can replenish themselves naturally, provided the rate of extraction does not exceed the rate of regeneration. Suppose this is a forest and we cut this much part of the forest, the trees in this part of the forest, and we will give it time to replenish. After around 20 years, we will have again the forest full of trees. Now suppose we have cut the whole forest, we have not left it, we have not given it time to replenish. Can we expect the forest to grow on its own self? No. Now forest cannot regenerate itself. So this is an important factor for renewable resources, condition for renewable resources to remain renewable. The natural rhythm of restoration and regeneration must not be disturbed. Okay, so this rhythm, the cycle must not be disturbed. In that way, we can use renewable resources for infinite time. Okay. Example is, if timber is harvested or wood is cut, the forest is cut, faster than trees grow, forest will eventually deplete. So we have seen this example right now. Next, let's move on to the next slide. After renewable resources, we have non-renewable resources. You can see in the picture. Non-renewable resources, these are those resources which are present in a specific quantity. If they are exhausted, it will take millions of years to replenish or make these resources. So we have example of fossil fuels, coal, petroleum, mineral, metal. All these things are present on the earth in a specific quantity. Okay. So we have a case study. Let's read the definition first. We'll complete non-renewable resources. These are those resources which are created over immense period of time and cannot be replenished at the rate they are consumed. These are those resources which take immense period, millions of years to form, but the rate at which they are consumed is high. The rate by which they are getting created and the rate by which we are creating, using that resources, the rate of usage is more than the rate of creation. So this is the non-renewable resource. Let's study the example of India. Why is coal important in India? India possesses significant coal reserve to meet growing energy demand. India has high amount of coal. Now where is this coal found in India? If you have heard the name of the plateau, let me mark the plateau. Suppose this is the map of India. I will draw a rough map of India. Okay. Suppose this is India. We have a plateau here called the Chota Nagpur Plateau. Chota Nagpur Plateau. So this plateau or different plateaus, many other plateaus in India are those that consist of coal. They are full of coal. We can use the coal, but due to population expansion and accelerated development, we are using so much high amount of coal that the demand of electricity is increasing, and it is estimated that India's coal reserve may not last or may last another 50 years. Okay. If we are continue to use coal with the same pace, with the same rate, with the same speed, in another 50 years, we will find India with no coal reserve. Now, we have a problem here. What is the solution to this problem? The solution is that we can switch to sustainable alternatives. We can use sustainable fuels instead of coal. We can use cleaner energy sources like natural gas. We can use the solar energy. So these are the different solutions to the given problem. That brings us to the problem of human impact on renewable cycles. Renewable cycles, the cycles of nature which are happening. So mainly we can say that due to climate change, due to water scarcity, security and marine life over exploitation, the cycle of the nature is getting disturbed. Here we have the first climate change. Then here we have water security, and then we have the marine life over exploitation. Let's understand each of these problems. A combination of fossil fuel driven industrialization and deforestation for agriculture has led to rising global temperature. In today's time, we are using fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are petrol, diesel, these fuels, we are using these, and due to these and deforestation, we have a problem of climate change. Climate change problem. The globe is getting hot. The earth is getting hotter day by day. Another problem is of water security. What is water security? Water security due to rising temperature. Globe is warming. The earth is getting warm. Global warming. The water in form of glaciers, ice is melting, and these water, when it is melting, it come down in form of flood. It causes flood, overflow of rivers. Okay, glaciers are melting faster than the precipitation and replacing them, threatening the water security of the population. Water security. What is the term water security? Water security means the water which humans are using for drinking. So if that is under threat, we will call it water security under threat. So water security is under danger due to global warming and human impact. Another example here is of water tower. Water tower. What is water tower? Himalaya mountains are called the water tower. Why water tower? Because water tower is actually that place which store high amount of water, and it fulfills the needs of those people who live on the lower part of the area. For example, we have Himalaya here, Himalaya mountains. They store the different ice in water in form of ice. These water melt and the water flows down. So those people who live here, they get water because of the Himalayas, mainly the northern plain area, northern plains in the Uttar Pradesh area, Bihar, Jharkhand, in the Delhi area. All these places are getting water because of the Himalayas. So Himalaya is acting like a water tower. Another example here we have of marine life over exploitation. Marine means the fishes which are present in the ocean and the sea due to the problem of commercialization. Farmers used to do fishing. They used to go on boat and they used to collect the fish and sell those fishes. But due to this commercialization, when we are using large ships, large nets, we are actually disturbing the cycle of the fish, the cycle of nature, because we are catching so much high amount of fish that the fish are not able to maintain their population. Their population or the number of fishes is actually decreasing because of overfishing. So this is the problem we are facing right now in today's times. Now we will have another topic, that is ecosystem function and ecosystem service. What is function? Function is something which is happening again and again. So in nature we have the natural ways by which ecosystem works and operates. For example, let's see the example: forest filtering water, preventing soil erosion and producing oxygen. These are all the example of ecosystem functions of the nature. If we are getting some benefit from the function, we will call it service, ecosystem service. Let's see the definition. The benefits humans receive from these natural function, these are called ecosystem service. For example, access to clean water, protected farmland and pollinated crops. So these are all the examples of how humans are taking help of natural functions, ecosystem functions. Let's understand with another example given here. This is the example of oxygen production. A single mature tree, a single mature tree which has grown to its maximum of full age, that tree produces around 275 liters of oxygen per day. Now, what is the quantity of oxygen that a single human being consume in a day? The quantity is around 3.50 liters of oxygen. That means a single mature tree is producing less oxygen than a single human being, the consumption of a single human being. This means that each person will require around 2 trees to complete his needs of oxygen in a day. So we can say that this is how ecosystem function is working and ecosystem service humans are getting. Okay, so we have understood the topic of ecosystem function and service. Let's move on to the next topic, that is industrial impact of on natural cycles. What are the impacts that industries create on the natural cycles? First is the problem of water discharge. You have seen these kind of drains around the industries, around factories. These kind of drain actually contain water which are discharged, water which are dangerous. Industries frequently discharge waste into the rivers and water bodies. All these kind of drain ultimately go into the river, polluting the river. Okay, so this is the problem of water discharging of the industries. Industries create new things, and whenever a new thing is created, some kind of waste is also created. So the waste is actually discharged in form of these kind of drain, which ultimately flow into the rivers and destroy the ecosystem, destroy the marine life. Then we have the topic called non-biodegradable waste. What are these waste? Biodegradable, those things which can decompose on its own. Non-biodegradable, those things which cannot decompose in the environment. For example, plastic. So all these things, non-biodegradable waste, cannot decay, they cannot destroy, they cannot get spoiled, and they are consumed by the life forms. They are consumed by fishes, they are consumed by the different animals, due to which it creates another problem where the animals are dying because of such effluents. Consequences. What is the result? The result is that the cycle of restoration and regeneration is getting fully disturbed. Rivers are getting poisonous and unable to support aquatic life. The fishes cannot grow in those rivers. So this is the problem that today we are facing because of industrial impact on the natural cycle. So we have completed this topic of natural resources classification on the basis of ability to replenish. Now we will see the next topic, that is the distribution of resources. Distribution of resources. Okay. Resources are distributed. What is distribution? How these resources are actually located in different parts of the earth, different parts of the country, different parts of the state. For example, you can see how it is showing that resources are concentrated over the Europe and parts of Sahara, which has no resource, for example, in this image. So this is how distribution of resource happen. Resources not found in every places. Resources are actually concentrated at some places, and there is paucity of resources in other places. Okay, this is called disparity. Disparity. This gap is significantly influencing various socio-economic and political dimension. Because of this distribution, difference in distribution, we have socio-economic and political dimensions that we will see right now. First, we will see the socio-economic impact. What is the meaning of the word socio? Socio means something which is related to society, social. What is economic? Economic means related to money or the income. Now, human settlements and urbanization, the location of natural resources often determine where people settle. People often settle in those places where there is plenty of resource. We'll settle in those places where we will have water, where we will have food, and we will not settle in those places where there is lack of resources. So people settle in those places where there is high amount of resources. Industries tend to establish themselves near resource deposits. So industries are created in those areas where we will have resources. For example, the Chota Nagpur Plateau, we will have so many factories of aluminium, of iron, copper around this area of Jharkhand, of Bihar, West Bengal, in this area, Chhattisgarh. Okay, so industries also set up there at those places where resources are found. Another point is that this lead to creation of employment. Okay, so whenever we have industry, we also have negative factor, but we also have some positive factor. Industries have some positives as well as negatives. We have seen the negative in the previous slide. What are the positives or advantages of industries? It creates employment. It gives jobs to so many people. It generates income. Okay, it is important for our GDP. Now, this leads to the creation of employment and opportunities for local population. So local population can get employed. Growth of these industries foster development and township. We have so many places in India, so many cities in India which were created because of industries, because of setting of industries. Do you know that Britishers, when they came to India, they set up their factories, they set up their industries in the city of Calcutta. They set up their city on the bank of different rivers. They set up their city called Bombay, called Madras, which will become later Chennai. So this is how the different industries are fostering development of township. Different towns are creating because of industries. The reason is very simple. Here we have industry. Because there is industry, people will start living around it. Why? Because they work in the industry. When people will live, they will need education facility, they will need schools, they will need hospitals, they will need some shops. Okay, shops, for example, shops which are grocery shops, vegetable stores, food stores. So all these things will get created. Because of one industry, the whole city has developed. This is how industries are helping in creating whole township. Okay, roads are created when industries are set up. Now, let's see the economic, trade and innovation. What is the impact of industries? So right now we saw the social impact on the society of industries. Now we'll see the economic impact. What are the economic changes, advantages? First of all, due to industries, national international trade patterns are heavily dependent. So we'll start trading. Our trade pattern is dependent on the geographical location of the resources. Wherever the resource is found, we trade from that area. Okay. When natural resources are combined with human skill and knowledge, unique high value products are created. For example, wood steel. Wood steel is a type of steel which is of high quality. So how did we create this type of steel? We used our knowledge, we used our skill. So in order to create new things, we will require humans which have high skill. Okay. Historically, such resources driven trade fueled development of large empires in India. So large empires in India got created only because of such high technological advancements. Okay. We have the empire of Ashoka, how they used metal swords. Okay, we have so many empires. We have Cholas. They created the ships, boats. ठीक. Then we have the socio and geopolitical challenges. What are the challenges? We saw the impact. Are there any challenges? Are there any problems? When a resource is there, there is always the problem of conflict. What type of conflict? Now this conflict is related to resource. Who will use the resource? Okay. Social cost. Local population may be displaced from their homes to facilitate extraction projects. Suppose we have found resources, we have found high quantity of iron in this area. Now all the houses in this area will be moved to some other places and the whole land will be cleared up for doing mining. This shows that whenever there is a resource, the local population is often displaced. They have to move to some other place because of the extraction of the resource. Another point which is related or problem which is called the cultural impact, because we have the threat on sacred sites in resource rich regions. Those resource rich regions, suppose we saw this example, if we have found iron here and there was a temple, a mosque or any other sacred place, church here, Gurudwara here, the culture will be impacted if these sacred places are moved because of extraction of the resources. Third problem here is political conflict. What is political conflict? Now this problem is related to who will use the resource. Suppose we have two states. This is first state, this is second state. These are the two states. This is A state, this is B state. And we have a river which is flowing like this. Now the conflict will start. Will the water of the river will be used by A or B? Who will use more water? So this is how conflict is created. Political conflicts are created wherever there is a resource involved. Because we have the characteristic of nature where nature does not respect any boundaries. Nature does not respect that this is India or this is China or this is Pakistan or this is a state of Madhya Pradesh, this is another state, this is another state. Nature does not respect any boundaries, due to which we have many resources which are present on the borders leading to conflict. So we can see the example of Kaveri river dispute. What is this Kaveri river dispute? Now this dispute arose between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. These are the main two states from which this river flows. We also have Kerala, from where one of the tributary of Kaveri river flows, and we also have Puducherry, which has a distributary. Let me explain with the example of the map. Suppose this is the South India, southern India, and here we have the state of Kerala, here we have Tamil Nadu, here we have Karnataka, and here we have Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, other states. Okay, so let me correct the Karnataka border. Here we have, where is the pen? Okay, so here we have Karnataka. So these are the mainly three states, and here we have the Puducherry somewhere here. Now we have a river called Kaveri river, which is flowing from Karnataka and from Kerala and flowing through Tamil Nadu, also via Puducherry and entering the Bay of Bengal. Okay, Bay of Bengal. Now the dispute arose between these states and union territory because of the problem of water sharing. Who will use the maximum amount of water? Because if suppose Karnataka creates here dams, there will be less water for Tamil Nadu. And who will get benefit? Karnataka will get benefit. So this is how problem arise between different states whenever a river is flowing through multiple states. You can see the description given here. Kaveri river water among Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Puducherry require deft management and negotiation to ensure proper peace and equity. So this is the challenge which is associated with resource. Now let's see the next slide, that is the natural resource curse. This is important topic, you must focus here. Natural resource curse. See the example first, the images first. The natural resource curse is called the paradox. Why paradox? Because there are some regions, there are some areas which have abundant natural resources. They have so high quantity of resources, but the economic prosperity is not there. They are very poor areas. How many of you know that Africa has high quantity of minerals? Even though Africa has so high quantity of minerals, metals, different elements found there, ores, the continent is not that much developed as other continents like North America or Europe. So that shows us the paradox here. Some resource rich regions experience slow economic growth than the resource poor region. Even though some region has low resource, that region has become developed, whereas another region which has high resource, this region is not that much developed. So this is a paradox. This is actually a curse. What is curse? Curse is known as shrap in Hindi. Shrap or blight, woe. ठीक. Next, evil. Next, what are the causes of this natural curse? Because economies fail to develop the necessary industries to convert the raw material to high value finished product. This is the main important reason why these regions are not able to develop, even though they have so high quantity of minerals resources, because they have raw material, and raw material on its own self is not so much of high value, does not have so much high value. It becomes high value only after we process it via industries. We process it, we purify it, we create new products, then only we'll get so much high value. So that's why, because they have no industries in that area, in those areas are facing the problem of natural resource curse. Let's see about India. India has generally avoided this curse by investing in industrial development to process resources internally, meeting growing domestic needs. India has avoided this curse. India has high amount of minerals, high quantity of natural resources, but we have also created industries. We have created the condition to support industries, due to which India has avoided this kind of curse. Okay. And you all know that Britishers came to India, or different European colonizers came to India only because of the high resources that were present in India. India was called the Sone ki Chidiya, the golden bird, because India had so much high amount of resources. So India has avoided this curse of natural resource curse by creating industrial development. And critical determinants which are important here is human knowledge, good governance, strategic planning. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Four things are important for any country, any area to avoid this curse. First is the presence of industries to convert raw material to final product, high value product. Second is human knowledge. If we do not have the knowledge to convert the raw material to final product, then we cannot use the resource, we cannot use the natural resource that is present in our area. So human knowledge is important. Good governance. Even though all of these things are there, the government is corrupt. In that case, we cannot guarantee development. And the fourth factor is strategic planning. If we have no plan, we are just extracting the resources, it will lead to another problem that we'll study in the last part of the chapter. Okay, so these are the four important things which are important for any country, any area, to avoid this natural resource curse. Now we have completed the distribution part of the chapter. We will move on to case study. Is there anything in here? No. We have case study now. Case study. So we'll start with the case study of Punjab. Punjab. Punjab means the land of 5 rivers. Panch Ab, where 5 rivers flow. So Punjab has seen a revolution called Green Revolution. What is Green Revolution? At the time when India got its independence, the country did not have high amount of food to support its population. So there was a dire need to create a source by which humans, the Indians will grow wheat, rice. Okay, so Indians will grow their own food crop. They will not depend on some other country. Just after the independence, India had to face this problem. So the solution that came at that time period was called the Green Revolution. The term green means related to agriculture, Green Revolution. So this ensured food security for the Indians. Indian got the food security. It resulted in severe ecological degradation in Punjab. Even though at that time period, India was able to cope up with that problem, in the long term, in the long run, we are facing the ecological degradation, as you can see in the picture. What are the problems? First is the shift in crop variety. Via Green Revolution, we use HYV seeds. These are those seeds whose variety, whose genetics we have modified, due to which they consume high amount of water. They are not that much able to sustain the different conditions of environment, changing environment, different climates, different weather conditions, and they use more water. I have told you they use more water than the traditional seeds. Okay, traditional seeds are the seeds which are locally found, whereas HYV seeds are those seeds that have been modified genetically to produce more fruit. Okay, policy incentives. The government at that time period wanted the farmers to promote this type of revolution, wanted the farmers to grow crop using this type of technology called HYV seed, use high amount of watering for the fields, okay, use fertilizers. All these things were a part of the policy, and due to these policies, due to policy of free electricity given to farmers and indiscriminate over free electricity has resulted in indiscriminate over pumping of the groundwater. So farmers have used more amount of water than the time required for the groundwater to get its replenished. Okay, so the amount of water has been used in so much high quantity that it has resulted in the decrease in the groundwater level. The water in the groundwater is actually decreasing in these areas. Chemical intensification. Chemicals are being used. High amount of fertilizer and pesticides. All these things were actually promoted in that time period because India wanted us increase high amount of yield. But in the long run, we are seeing these many consequences. What are the consequences? First is water scarcity. Around 80% of Punjab's area is classified overexploited. It is used more than its capacity. Okay, with water table dropping below 30 meters. 30 meters is very large amount of depth. Okay, so water has gone beyond 30 meters in the ground. Contamination. The chemicals that we sprayed, the chemical fertilizers, pesticide that we sprayed over the plants, actually they are dissolving in the groundwater. That means the groundwater has become poisonous and creating significant health hazards. Okay, so health is getting compromised. And sustainability gap. What is this? The trade-off of short period food security was a long-term ecological crisis. So in the short term, India got the food security, India got the food to sustain its population, but in the long term, these areas are facing huge problem of ecological crisis, where the groundwater is getting depleted, the soil is getting so much leached, intensified due to intensified use of chemicals. Okay, Next case is of cement industry. What is this industry? So this is those industries which create cement. Cement industry is important for creating buildings, but it has some drawbacks. Just like industries, cement industry also has some drawbacks. What are the drawbacks? Pollution, number one factor. Whoever live around the cement industry, they might have seen how much high amount of dust particles are there in the air. And where does this dust go? These dust actually settle on the soil. And what happens if the dust settle on the soil? The soil gets destroyed. What is this dust? Actually, this dust is actually coming from the cement. So cement is getting mixed with the soil and the soil will get destroyed. Production release fine dust particles that damage human and animal respiratory systems. Human and animal will have difficulty in breathing. Dust will settle on the plant leaves. Plant will get destroyed. Okay, agriculture will get reduced. Contributes to both soil and water pollution. Both type of pollution is happening. Even water will get polluted apart from soil. What are the mitigation factor? So we have a body, a government body called Central Pollution Control Board. What is this body? This is that body which creates guidelines to minimize and eliminate industrial emissions. To correct this problem, the government has created a body. We also have some alternative materials which we can use for making homes. We cannot just, cement is not just the single material that we can use. We can also use some traditional materials like stone and mud for making houses. We can use new plant-based materials and recycled plastic waste plastic to make houses. You can see in the image, this is how mud houses are created, new straw houses are created, and using plastic. So these are the different alternatives which are available to us for making different houses using different material apart from cement. Are there any real world example? Yes, we have the example of Auroville Earth Institute, that is UNESCO Chair for Earthen Architecture. This building, you will find this picture, the picture is there in your book, you will see the picture. That building is actually created using mud. Okay, using modern techniques and using mud. So this shows that we can use mud and other sources of material for making houses. Now we will see the third case of Sikkim. Sikkim is very famous because of Sikkim has achieved 100% certified organic state. Okay, so Sikkim is famous because of organic farming. Let's understand what happened in Sikkim. So in earlier times, the crop yield declined. The output of the crop declined with the time. The debt increased on the farmers. They took loans from money lenders, and then there was the expensive chemical inputs, chemical fertilizers which was required. All these things increased the burden on the farmers. Initially, the yield got dropped, the soil recovered from years of chemical saturation, the soil recovered from the chemical fertilizers, the chemicals that got dissolved in the soil, and after years, new methods were adopted, use of compost, natural pest repellents, and multi-cropping was used throughout the year. And finally, in 2016, we have Sikkim with 100% certified organic state. If we are using the organic things for cultivation, we will call it organic farming. We are not using any chemicals. We are not using chemical fertilizer, pesticides. We are not using the HYV seeds or those seeds which need more water. We are not using these type of chemical things. So organic things are, organic fruits are those fruits which are created using these organic farming. Now farmers also experienced a benefit. The benefit was 20% increase in their income. farmers' income increased around 20% because of organic farming. Because these organic fruits and vegetables are sold at higher prices than normal fruits and vegetables. These farmers are producing cardamom, ginger and vegetables at premium prices. So this is how farmers are also getting the benefit. Nature is also getting the benefit and consumers are also getting the benefit. Social impact. Tourism has increased because these states are getting more colorful, more green. Tourists are coming here, and this is how the whole state's ecosystem or whole state's system, economic system has developed. Now we will come to the topic of stewardship. What is the stewardship? Stewardship. Let's understand the meaning first. The act of caring for and protecting something, especially the environment, for present and future generation. We are caring for the environment, we are protecting the environment for us, for our current generation, as well as for the human beings that will come in the future. So this is called stewardship. It involves respecting nature to ensure that life on earth is sustained for future generations. So life is sustained for a longer time period on the earth. It enables regeneration of renewable resources and ensuring judicious use of non-renewable resources. We have renewable resources, so we must allow it to regenerate. We have some non-renewable resources, we must use the non-renewable resources in a judicious manner. Okay, so these are the various ways by which we can protect the environment. What is the consequence of irresponsible management? We have the problem of pollution. Environment is getting polluted. Biodiversity loss. What is biodiversity? It has come from the term bio and diversity. Bio means related to plants, animals, something which is living, bio, and diversity, the variety. So biodiversity is decreasing. The variety of plants, animals is decreasing. Okay, because these are getting destroyed. Climate change. So this is also a problem. These all problem has been caused because of irresponsible management. Okay, resource degradation and recovery. So we have groundwater. What is the cause of degradation of groundwater? High rate of usage, high rate of extraction of groundwater than the rate of replenishment, than the nature's rate of replenishing the groundwater. What is the impact? Impact is that the water table has decreased, the groundwater has gone down. And what is the solution? So solution is using rainwater harvesting. Tamil Nadu is the state that has made it compulsory, water harvesting. Okay, then rejuvenation of ponds and tanks, then reducing waste consumption, reducing the wasteful consumption. Whatever waste is getting created, we can reduce the waste. Water processing and reuse. We can process the water instead of discharging it, wasting it. We can reuse the water. Another thing, we have soil. What is the problem? Injudicious use of chemical fertilizer and pesticide. Because we are using chemical fertilizer, pesticide, the soil has degraded, the nutrients has decreased. Soil, the crop is failing. What is the solution? The solution is that we can adopt traditional farming using cow dung, using natural fertilizers. We can use the technique of mulching, multiple cropping, holistic soil management practices. All these things can help us in managing the problem of soil degradation. So if we are using the non-renewable methods, then it will lead to short-term benefits, short-term productivity, but in the long term we will have sustainability crisis. Okay, we have seen this in the example of Punjab. What we can do is that we can create a regenerative economy. What is regenerative economy? In this economy we have repurposing, finding uses for used resources. So do you remember the terms 3R? 3R, what are the 3 R's? Reuse, reduce, recycle. Similarly, we have repurposing. Repurposing means finding new use, using things again. Minimizing waste, reduce, like in the 3 R's. And replenishing, means actively restoring the resources, giving it time to get restored. Biomimicry. What is this biomimicry? Nature is full of examples, so we can copy the examples of nature. In aerodynamics or making aeroplanes, we have copied the birds. For making boats, we have copied the fishes. Similarly, we can copy the nature, the wisdom of nature, for creating a regenerative economy. Learning from nature, how nature is giving time for resources to regenerate on its own self and creating new things. Okay. Now we will move on to the next way. The next thing is Vriksha Ayurveda. Even our traditional ancient scripts mention this term Vriksha Ayurveda. What is this Ayurveda? This term has come from the term Vriksha. Vriksha means tree and Ayurveda means science of life. So it was formalized around 10th century CE. What are the principles of Vriksha Ayurveda? What is studied in this Vriksha Ayurveda? Site selection. Where should we plant this specific plant? This specific plant requires which type of soil? Plant care. How can we care the plant in such a manner that plant is preserved? Pre-planting treatment. Precision irrigation. How much water should be given to a specific plant, specific species of the plant? Natural pest management. How can we control the pest, the different insects which might destroy the plant? Okay. And soil health. How can we maintain the soil, the health of the soil using ensuring moisture and support for microorganism. So these are the different topics which are studied in Vriksha Ayurveda. We will see a quick summary. We saw that there are two ways to development. One is the non-sustainable method, another is the sustainable way. Here we have the conventional or industrial approach and another is sustainable traditional approach. So if we are using HYV seed, chemical fertilizer, over pumping groundwater, we will lead to the problems of environment. And if we are using organic farming and Vriksha Ayurveda and crop rotation, we are actually giving nature the time to replenish. We are using natural ways. Then construction. In construction, we saw if we will use cement, it will lead to this type of development. But if we will use mud architecture, recycled plastic, we will have this type of architecture. Then in resource use, we have rapid extraction of short term gain. If we are using the resources in a non-judicious manner, we will have short term gain. In short term, we will have high income. But in the long term, it will lead to problem. Environmental impact. The soil will get degraded, water will get depleted, the water will decrease, air will get polluted. Whereas in this case, there will be biodiversity recovery, soil health will get increased, soil health will get good, and low emissions, we will have low pollution. So this is the first summary. Then we saw what is the definition of natural resource. Those material or substances that occur naturally in the environment and possess value to human being are called natural resource. We saw that we can categorize resources as renewable and non-renewable resources, and we also saw the resource curse, the problem which is associated with the resource. Okay, let's move on. At last, we have something called equity and ethics. What is equity and what is ethics? Equity, fairness, fair, something, equality, justice, in fair amount, equity. What is ethics? Ethics means morality, values, principles that we call good principles. Okay, distribution and management of resources are not always equitable. There is inequality of access. Basic necessities such as clean air, drinking water are often unfairly distributed. You can see in the image, good water condition, good water, good air is not distributed equally on the earth's surface. It is distributed in not a regular manner, it is irregular. It is unfairly distributed. Now we have urban disparity. Many urban areas suffer from inadequate or irregular supplies of potable water. There is problem of water supply in the cities. Environmental hazards, industrial pollution, excessive use of fossil fuel disproportionately affected the nature, affected vulnerable population who lack the mean to protect themselves from health hazards. Those population who are poor, they cannot afford the air purifiers, so they are getting affected by the high resource, the environmental hazards. Okay, stewardship and philosophy. What is the philosophy? So in Bhagavad Gita we have the concept of lok sangrah. The Bhagavad Gita tell us about the topic of lok sangrah. What is this? It is a concept of Bhagavad Gita which suggests that individuals should transcend personal desires. We must give up our personal desire, okay, and we must work for the well-being of all the human beings, on the earth. What is the goal? To ensure sustainability by acting as guardian of the earth's natural resource and future generation. So this is the main goal of resource equity and ethics. We have completed the topic here, and at last we have come to India and sustainable energy. India and sustainable energy. India's transition to sustainable energy. What are sustainable energy? Sustainable energy are called the green fuels, the renewable resources. India has created something called International Solar Alliance and solar ambitions also. We will see it here. We'll start with International Solar Alliance first. So India has created in 2015, India along with France has created International Solar Alliance. What is this alliance? This alliance helps those countries which receive high amount of sunshine, to help them have a cleaner energy sources of solar energy. Okay, so key contribution, billions of dollars, means high amount of money has been put in the solar projects in the developing nations. Sharing of technical expertise, those countries, for example countries of Africa who are poor, we are sharing the technology of this solar panels, converting solar energy into electricity. So we are sharing the expertise and creating affordable financial option of solar infrastructure. So creating a whole infrastructure to support this whole ecosystem of solar energy. For this purpose, the India and France has created International Solar Alliance in the year 2015. What is India's solar ambitions? So India has created Badla Solar Park. Where is this? This is in the Rajasthan area. It serves as primary symbol of India's transition from traditional energy to renewable energy. Okay, it shows India's ambition towards a greener energy sources. Impact: due to this, solar energy represents both environmental responsibility and significant economic opportunity for the nation. So the nation has got the benefit of solar ambitions. So with this we have completed the whole chapter of natural resources and their use. And once you have watched this video, I will suggest you that you will go and read your chapter. You will underline the new words, and then you will learn the question answer, and then you can attempt the practice test. I have put a practice test of this lesson. You can try the practice test in the TspApp. If you want to study, you can use the mind map and slideshow which is provided in the TspApp. Thank you for watching.